Good morning, friends. This video on one of the important SOP issued by CBIC with instruction number 02/2022 dated 22nd March 2022, which is there in the description box. And this SOP is for scrutiny of GST return. This scrutiny of GST return, I'm sure lot of you are getting scrutiny notices, and this SOP is being issued for the financial year 2017-18 and 18-19. This SOP is talking about how the department going to pick up the GST number selected taxpayer for scrutiny of GST return, and what is the procedure they will follow, and the risk parameter, what are the risk parameter they will have for selection criteria for scrutiny of GST return. Having said that, let's understand. Under this SOP, it is being stated they are going to follow section 61, which is pertaining to scrutiny of returns, read with rule 99 of CGST rules. Now, as per the provision, they are saying that proper officer may scrutinize the GST return to verify the correctness of information and details furnished by the taxpayer in GST return. In case of any discrepancies noticed, then the proper officer going to issue a notice in form called GST ASMT-10, and he will require the explanation from the concerned taxpayer. So reply need to be submitted in a period not exceeding 30 days, but a further period may be allowed by the proper officer. Now, there are two way forward. Once you are getting notice from the proper officer for any discrepancy noticed by him in the GST return filed by the taxpayer, so you may either agree with the discrepancy. आपने मान लिया कि हाँ मेरी गलती रह गई है. So once you accept the same, then you need to pay the tax and corresponding interest and penalty as applicable, and inform to the proper officer. So payment can be done through DRC 03. That is the part when you are agreeing with the discrepancy noticed by the proper officer, and you got the notice in ASMT 10. In case you are not agreeing, you can submit your explanation in form called GST ASMT 11. So what proper officer will do, either he will agree with that whatever explanation given by you is satisfactory, then he will intimate you that he is satisfied with your explanation, and he will issue a form ASMT 12. So this is when he is agreeing for with your explanation. But what happened? In case he is not agreeing, then he may go forward either for the audit as per section 65 of CGST Act, or special audit by nominated chartered accountant or cost accountant, and section 66 is being referred wherever the department is having any doubt on valuation and the eligible credit. They may nominate any practicing chartered accountant or cost accountant for special audit. Otherwise, section 67, it can be inspection, search and seizure in case department is not satisfied with your explanation. And then section 73 and 74, issuance of so-called notice. When department is not agreeing with your explanation, they may issue so-called notice for non-fraud cases under section 73 and for fraud cases under section 74 of CGST Act. So nutshell, this is what they have said, that section 61 rate with rule 99 of CGST rules. Now having said that, it is being stated in that SOP which I am referring to, that DGARM, Director General of Analytics and Risk Management, they are going to select the cases for scrutiny of GST return, and they will have their 13 indicative risk parameter, and these 13 risk parameter is being stated in this particular instruction which I am referring, instruction number 2/2022. The 13 indicative parameter. And what are those 13 indicative parameter? First, on outward supply. On outward supply, and this is important for you, that you must prepare the reconciliation for your benefit, because these are the parameter may result into notice is being issued for scrutiny of GST return. So you have to be careful for the period financial year 2017-18 and 18-19. And this SOP meant the process and procedure need to be followed by proper officer. First, pertaining to outward supply, you must reconcile your outward supply as furnished in GSTR 1 versus GSTR 3B. You must reconcile that whatever you have declared in GSTR 1 must be furnished in GSTR 3B. Otherwise, you know the explanation under section 75 subsection 12. If there is any difference in outward supply furnished in GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, then that would be considered a value and corresponding tax would be considered as a self-assessment tax. So if you have mentioned 5 lakh rupees in your GSTR 1 as liability in GSTR 1, and whereas you are paying the tax in GSTR 3B for 50,000 rupees for your outward supply, then 4,50,000 rupees going to be termed as a self-assessment tax. And as per this explanation under section 75 subsection 12, it can be recovered. Recovery can be initiated by the department without issuance of so-called notice. So this is a very draconian provision, but we have to be very, very careful. And this explanation is now made effective from 1st of January 2022. But this is very important. You must reconcile your outward supply furnished in GSTR 1 versus GSTR 3B, and should be ready with the explanation, with the answer, point of differences, why point of differences for your onward reply in case you are getting any scrutiny notices. Second, your outward supply must match. If you happen to be, TDS is being deducted by the specified taxpayer, then they are filing GSTR 7 and declaring the value on which TDS is being deducted. There is TCS provision for GSTR 8 for e-commerce operator. They are filing GSTR 8 and declaring the value on which TCS is being collected. So this value which is being mentioned in GSTR 7 by TDS deductor, GSTR 8 by e-commerce operator must match with the outward supply as furnished by the supplier. If there is difference, you should be ready with your reconciliation. And these are the parameter, indicative parameter. Having said that, third point, you must prepare the reconciliation of your outward supply as furnished in GSTR 1 versus eBay bill generated. You have to be careful. So you have to really reconcile to what extent your outward supply is being furnished in eBay bill portal for generation of eBay bill versus outward supply declared in GSTR 1. So third parameter. Fourth parameter, the interest payment on delayed payment of tax under section 50 subsection 1 of CGST Act. We all know that interest, a big dispute started, and thereby it was whether interest is leviable on gross tax versus net tax liability. Fortunate part, it is being stated that interest is going to be leviable only on net tax liability which is paid through cash. Simple example, you got 1 lakh rupees liability and you got 80,000 rupees lying in your e-credit ledger. Net payment 20,000 you are paying through cash. That is called net tax liability. So interest is going to be levied on net tax liability. Net tax liability, and that too retrospectively from July 1, 2017. You should be ready, and in case you have not paid the interest, interest is leviable. In case you have paid the excess interest on gross tax, then you must go and file your refund claim. Please make sure, and time period limitation you must keep to your mind. These are the parameter which is being given as an indicative risk parameter for scrutiny of GST return. And last point, late fees. Late fees which is being levied for late filing of your return or statement. So GSTR 1 is the statement, GSTR 3B is the return. If you are late filing, then late fees is applicable as per section 47 of CGST Act. We have seen in the past that you might not have paid the late fees, but you may get a notice now on this basis of this SOP for scrutiny of return. So you have to pay this late fees for delay in filing of your GSTR statement or GSTR return, unless otherwise exempted during that period by specific notification. This is pertaining to outward supply. Coming back to pointers, indicative pointers pertaining to ITC, GST input tax credit. First parameter, that when you are availing credit on import of goods, so table 4A1 of GSTR 3B is important.
Talk to your clients from anywhere. Access your data anytime and from any device. Try Zoho Books.
So this credit must be cross-checked with the data which is being retrieved from IceGate, pulled from the IceGate. It must be matched. So whatever IGST credit you are availing on import of goods under table 4A1 of GSTR 3B must be matched with the data coming out from IceGate. Second, the RCM liability, reverse charge method, where you are paying the liability under reverse charge. Being recipient, you are paying the liability in reverse charge. So you may be availing credit under table 4A2 and 4A3. So there is import of services and there is reverse charge liability which you are paying and availing the credit. So reverse charge liability paid in cash, you avail the credit. So when you are paying the liability, you are mentioning under table 3.1D of GSTR 3B, and it need to be paid in cash. and corresponding cash transactions shown in table 6 of GSTR 3B. So these are the criteria and parameter to cross check, verify the correctness of details furnished in your GSTR 3B pertaining to RCM. ISD credit when you avail in table 4A4 of GSTR 3B must be matched with the GSTR 6 furnished by the ISD. So these are the criteria and parameter which is coming out, and cross reference is also being given that this must be matched with GSTR 2A or 2B. Now last is other credit available, table 4A5 of GSTR 3B, other credit. So this should be matched with GSTR 2A, and this is how it is being explained in that SOP which we are referring to. So this should be matched with GSTR 2A, but we all are sounding and we all are saying that whether my credit is really dependent on GSTR 2A or 2B. From 1st January 2022, of course, we all agree that fifth condition subclause AA got introduced under section 16 subsection 2 of CGST Act, whereby credit must be checked with GSTR 2B, and I have made a different video which you can watch on my YouTube channel. But is there any relevance of GSTR 2A? Do we need to check if that credit is not coming in GSTR 2A, and credit may not be coming in GSTR 2A for different region? Region could be the wrong furnishing of GST number by supplier, B2B captured as a B2C, intra-state supply captured as a interstate or vice versa. Or maybe GSTR 1 is filed coming in 2A, but GSTR 3B is not being filed by the supplier. We all are saying this GSTR 2A may be a facilitation, and I'm not saying Honorable Supreme Court in the case of Bharti Airtel has said GSTR 2A is only a facilitation. Otherwise, it's a self-assessment tax. If you're satisfying 4 conditions under section 16 subsection 2, you should have tax invoice copy, received goods and services, your supplier must have paid taxes, and being recipient, you are regularly filing GST return. Credit is available. In my humble submission, also credit available. But you may get scrutiny notices, scrutiny of return, that notice from the department. Be ready, we can fight it out. Now, next situation could be that there are certain credit which is dependent on time limit under section 16 subsection 4 of CGST Act. And what is that time limit? Earliest of due date furnishing return under section 39 of next September in next financial year, following the end of relevant financial year. So whether this GSTR 3B is a return under section 39, big dispute, Honorable Supreme Court in the case of AAP and Company following the decision of Bharti Airtel has decided GSTR 3B is a return under section 39. My other videos are available. I have said they have followed the Bharti Airtel judgment as a ratio decidendi in AAP and Company. Should not be the case. Should not be the case. Because constitutional validity of introduction of GSTR 3B under Rule 61 sub Rule 5 was not tested, and in AAP and Company they have decided on the basis of larger bench judgment of Supreme Court in Bharti Airtel. But GSTR 3B is a return under section 39. So due date for furnishing 3B of September in next financial year, following the end of financial year, relevant financial year, or date of furnishing annual return, whichever is earlier. 17-18 last date was 31st March 2019. For 18-19, it would be 20th October 2019. So you have to really take care. If you are filing a late GSTR 3B, which is beyond due date, then this may be the criteria, risk parameter for not getting the credit. Please take care. That's what it is being stated. Having said that, there is other component which is also being stated and which is being given as a risk parameter. What are those parameters? That reversal of common credit, common ITC pertaining to exempt supplies. in terms of Rule 42 and 43. Are you doing that or not? They will cross-check and verify from your GSTR 3B. So you need to be very, very careful pertaining to these parameters which I have discussed with all of you. And these parameters are indicative. So these are not all. They are indicative parameters, and this can be taken up as a basis for issuing notice ASMT-10 for scrutiny of GST return by proper officer. Who could be proper officer? Superintendent, as stated. Superintendent with the permission from AC and DC, jurisdictional AC and DC, can go and send notice for scrutiny of return, and he can send the notice ASMT-10. But we are finding these notices are being sent with the time period to reply 7 days. But otherwise time period as specified under section 61 read with rule 99H 30 days or further time period may also be granted by the proper officer. So this SOP is going to be important, and this SOP is meant for how the scrutiny of return selection criteria would be done by DGARAM, Directorate General of Analytics and Risk Management, on 13 indicative parameters which I have discussed with all of you. But this is important. You need to prepare yourself for 17-18 and 18-19. If there is discrepancy, you may get notice. So you need to be ready either with your explanation why these differences are. In case you agree with the liability, then pay the liability before it is coming back to you. Because when you are paying the liability suo moto, then they are not going to invoke section 74. So penalty may be saved in that regard. So this video was mainly focusing on scrutiny of GST return by a proper officer. Hope this will help in your GST endeavors and practice. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.